so dusty. I must have passed out because I woke up and you were gone. But Dr. Strange was there, right? He was like, it's been 5 years. Come on, they need us. And then he started doing the yellow sparkly thing he does all the time. What are you doing? Oh, this is nice.
And it is nice. It was to see that hug again, to have Spider-Man come back into the MCU. Okay, in the previous videos, I said to you about Spider-Man being like, I don't know if he should be in the MCU, the whole thing of changing him from his original form in the films, Sam Raimi, and then he went, had his amazing Spider-Man Overlook change and things like that, but he has come into the MCU. He's got his own film, and he's got a new film coming out very, very, very soon, Far From Home, if we all know. I haven't seen that trailer, guys, so I'm kind of, you may have had a little bit of spoiler there from Endgame, but it's been a couple of weeks now, guys, so if it is spoilers, I do apologize if you still haven't seen it, but there will be a few spoilers in this video, as the thumbnail does tell you there. My name's Blut084, BLUT084, Art and Games, and today we're going to be doing some more drawing, as we always do. And on Monday, well, actually today is Tuesday, because yesterday was Bank Holiday Monday, and I took myself a little break. But I didn't break for anything. There's still some gaming that I got on up to, so definitely check that one out if you haven't already. That was live. But yeah, what do you think about me playing some more of Spider-Man PS4? Because I have completed the whole game. But what I haven't done is completed it in Game Plus. So some of the things that I haven't collected, I can still collect. I mean, I collected all of the collectibles, finished all of the challenges, and finished pretty much everything of that game. And I want to know if you guys want to see any more of that content from my channel. Just because I've finished all the story now, I can just swing around the city and Game Plus mode and just sort of mess around in the game. But anyway, that's another game. Check at the end of the video for some playlist that'll take you to the gameplay for that. And then when it first came out, I was like 2 days early, and it was really spoilers. I mean, I like these spoilers, guys. I do apologize for anybody that does get any spoilers. But I was looking through my comic books or comic annuals. And again, some of these are up for grabs, guys. All you got to do is give me a hell yeah in the comment section. The competition will be ended at the end of the month, and for this picture here, if you were watching last week, this picture here was obviously of the snap itself from Iron Man, and we got that one finished and digitized. If you haven't seen the digitized version, guys, definitely go and check his videos out if you want to learn how to do all this. And yeah, more spoilers to this today. We're going to be doing Spider-Man not Far From Home, sorry. That we will be watching. Me and my son will be watching that at a later date. Because we watched Endgame, we watched every single film up until now. And he's liking the new Spider-Man. He's actually bringing me over to liking the new Spider-Man. And since the Endgame, I kind of like him a little bit more. Because you know that instant kill mode, guys? Well, he kind of uses it. And that's what the scene we're going to be drawing today. Here live. So if you've got any comments, guys, you can leave them in the comment section down below, or if you're watching live again, you can click aside and you can leave me a comment. I'll be listening to some more stuff from CBR, which is on the YouTube, which is where I find my content. If you want to know where I get all of my stuff from, then you can ask me in the comment section down below. I'm trying not to burp. Things we're doing live. Right, like I said, last week was Iron Man. This week I said I'll be doing something different, a double special, and we're doing the scene just after you just saw there, where Iron Man and Spidey are sort of struggling to get the gauntlet away and to the Hulk, I believe, too, so he can finish off the decimation. If you haven't seen the film, guys, again, spoilers in the film that I'm going to be talking about today. I probably won't be listening into any reviews until tomorrow. If you are here for reviews, definitely click subscribe and ding the bell so you know when I'm live again tomorrow, or just watch back whenever you can. I've already laid out something I want to do here. I'm going to be doing basically trying to say is the first here, and I can't remember the Spider-Man's suit girl name. What's it called? What's the computer's AI, that's the one. What's the AI in the suit? I can't remember. Let me in the comment section. I'll obviously have to find out. But we're going to be doing half here. So he's going to be saying blah, blah, blah. I think it's Sarah. Is it Sarah? I don't know if it's Sarah. He's going to be saying blah, blah, Sarah. And then he'll be saying it here. Instant kill mode. And then we'll have the Chitauri. I try to attack him, but his arms are doing exactly what they're intended to do when he says instant kill mode. I've already mapped it out and I've already got an idea of what I want to be doing. I'm going to be taking inspiration from this page here, which again, if you would like to win it, it is the full picture. Oh, actually, that's a good scene, actually. There we go. Oh, what do we think? That one there? Or that one there? Look at his arms coming out. It's a bit big though. I'm trying to fit it into there on the bottom. Make it damn sight easier, and we have to colour nothing in. Put all the shading. Then again, I could put the suit in there myself. Ooh. See, I like that one because then the arms could come out of the back, as you see. And then it'd be like Chitauri here. So it'd be like a Chitauri here. Oh, sorry, no, it's Spider-Man. Chitauri's here and here and here. He's getting knocked down. He'll be getting stabbed back. He'll be getting all like lifted away, maybe. That's the idea where I'm coming from with the sort of a sketch idea I did. We've got face again. We already explained the faces and why he's going to be standing. I can't decide what pose to fit him in there. I kind of like that one. I've already done that picture myself. I painted that one a couple of years ago. You can see that on my streaming wall when I'm gaming, guys. So don't forget, check up when you do look at my gaming videos to check behind me when I'm chatting on the video, because they're the ones I've painted. They're the ones I've drawn myself, and that was an inspiration many years ago I did. But let's get to drawing, showing you how to. I'll try and do as...
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Well, I don't care, Alexa, shut up. She came in very handy, actually, when I did some VR the other day. If you haven't checked that out, guys, we are going to be continuing on with some more of the art and building our very own Iron Man workshop, cave. What does he call it? What do you call it? We'll have to find out. Well, Alexa told us a little bit about Iron Man. Don't say her name because she will talk to me. I'm going to get some of that good CBR work going while I get some good artwork going on. If you got a comment, you got a comment and you're watching live, leave it in the comment section. If you're watching back, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe if you're new.
A long year after watching some of Earth's mightiest heroes turn to dust, the Avengers have finally reassembled, and they didn't disappoint. Avengers Endgame is everything you could want in a finale 10 years in the making. It reminds us where we've been and hints at where we're going. It's heartfelt, funny, tragic, and thrilling.
Where are we going?
Endgame includes a number of important scenes in its 3 hours. In this video, we're sharing our pick for the film's most important scene and explaining why it was the movie's linchpin. We'll also talk about what it tells us about the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because if there's one thing we know, it's that Endgame is only an ending for some characters. The MCU will continue and bring us new stories and new characters to root for too. Before we begin, it should come as no surprise that there are massive Endgame spoilers ahead. Spoilers! If you haven't seen the movie yet, well, run to the theater right now. We'll wait.
No, carry on.
Runners up. Before we reveal the scene we've dubbed Endgame's most important, let's talk about some scenes that were runners-up for the title. These scenes were all pivotal to the film. One of the first scenes that set the agenda was Scott Lang's conversation with Captain America and Black Widow at Avengers headquarters. It's been 5 years since Thanos snapped for everyone else, but Scott spent all that time in the quantum realm, so for him it was barely a blip. Scott may not be a scientific genius like Bruce Banner or Tony Stark, but he knows that his experience points to something important. If the team can harness the power of the quantum realm, they can use time travel to set things right. His idea is what sets the movie's plot in motion. Another important scene is the team coming together just before they time travel to gather the Infinity Stones. After the characters determined where and when each stone was, they made a plan to retrieve them. Before they hit the button that'll zap them to the past, Captain America gives a motivational speech to rally the troops. Then they each travel to a different time and place to find the stones before Thanos can. This scene leads to another crucial moment in the movie: Black Widow and Clint Barton's mission to retrieve the Soul Stone. We saw in Avengers 3 that in order to get this stone, the Seeker must trade the thing they love for it. Neither Clint nor Natasha are willing to sacrifice the other for the stone. Yet, they were happy to give their own lives for the cause. After all, as Natasha says, they vowed to do whatever it takes. In the end, Natasha wins the argument. It's one of the most tragic and unexpected scenes in the movie, not least because it established the depth of Clint and Natasha's friendship. Finally on our list of important runner-up scenes is the death of Tony Stark. After a long battle with Thanos and his minions over the new Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos had it in his grasp, and on his hand. Yet through some Doctor Strange-powered sleight of hand, it was actually Tony Stark in his Iron Man armor that managed to don the glove. Thanos claims he's inevitable. Tony counters in his quippy way that he is Iron Man, and saves the day by snapping away Thanos and his army. Sadly, the power of the otherworldly Infinity Gauntlet is too much for Tony. After utilizing the gauntlet, he quickly becomes immobilized and clearly doesn't have long to live. Before he passes away, he shares a final moment with his best friend Rhodey, Peter Parker, the boy he mentored, and finally his wife, Pepper, as Tony takes his last breath. Pepper tells him she and their daughter will be fine and that he can rest. It's a devastating moment, and it solidifies that the MCU has reached an end of an era. The setup. The most important scene in the film, however, takes place just a little bit earlier in the movie, in the middle of the battle with Thanos. In the setup leading up to it, a number of significant events occur. First, the Avengers make a new Infinity Gauntlet and determine that Professor Hulk should be the one to wield it. It isn't easy, and it involves a great deal of screaming, but Hulk eventually manages to snap his gauntlet-clad fingers. Just as the Avengers are realizing their plan may have succeeded and brought back those who perished, Thanos attacks. Thanos from 2014, that is. Avengers headquarters is reduced to rubble. Thanos sits in the middle of it as the 2014 version of Nebula goes to retrieve the gauntlet. That's when we get an epic old-school team-up. Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor join forces to take on the Mad Titan. It's a battle for the ages, and includes the revelation that Cap is capable of picking up Thor's hammer. Oh yeah. It also establishes that Thanos is extremely hard to get rid of. Boo. Still, Thanos has an objective, and if we learned one thing from Avengers 3, it's that Thanos is pretty single-minded when he has a goal. He calls in his troops. A surprising number of followers are apparently on board with his plan to snap away half of all of life. Cap faces him down all alone. From the look on his face, he seems determined to keep fighting until he can't anymore. He's just one man against an army, though. The odds are looking pretty bleak. Just when it seems like all hope is lost, Cap hears something coming over his comms, and that's when the scene in question starts. On your left.
Yeah.
It's Cap's pal, Sam Wilson.
There he
otherwise
comes.
known as Falcon.
Through the
His
ring,
message,
sling ring.
On your left. Sam's not quoting a Beyonce song. He's making a callback to the Friends' first meeting in Captain America the Winter Soldier. At the time, Cap continuously lapped Sam during a run, and that was the phrase he used to alert Sam of his presence. Sam was dusted during Thanos' snap, so hearing his voice already established what we already suspected. The decimated are back. However, Cap was understandably distracted from confirming that the team's unsnapping play worked. At first, he almost doesn't seem to believe that it's his friends coming over the line. Then, a portal appears in back of him and to his left. Falcon flies out, accompanied by Avenger after Avenger, and Cap looks as exhilarated as we feel. Soon, portals are appearing all around Cap, and every ally that's fought alongside the Avengers through 21 previous films is on the battlefield with them. It's a thrilling sight to see. A universe full of superheroes with all kinds of different skills, from the mystical Scarlet Witch, to the alien Drax, to the acrobatic Spider-Man. Even Pepper Potts joins in as the Iron Man-esque rescue. The Old Guard. And that's part of what makes this scene so vital. In many ways, Endgame is a passing of the torch. It mostly focuses on the old-school Avengers, the 6 members of the team who initially assembled in 2012's The Avengers. Before they knew about Sorcerer Supreme, or talking trees, Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Thor, Black Widow, and Hawkeye came together to fight the forces threatening Earth. Endgame wraps up many of these character stories. The mission of the initial 6 Avengers has spread to include more and more superpowered and even some not so superpowered people. People who believe in their cause and want to use their training and skills towards it. Many of the characters that walk through those portals to join Cap in the battlefield against Thanos are the new recruits. And as we soon see, the number of people who've rallied to the Avengers' cause are legion. It's far beyond anything the Avengers would have envisioned during their initial attempts to work together. Knowing that this is what they've created is inspiring. The future of the MCU. And in that accomplishment lies the future of the MCU. The camera focuses on team after team of superhero characters. Most of them spent the past 5 years as dust. That doesn't mean they skipped a beat when they were resurrected. Just as they came together to take down Thanos in Avengers 3, they do the same in Endgame. And this time, they're even more aware of the stakes. This group is diverse, representing different backgrounds and perspectives, but ultimately, they fight together. This scene draws a line from the Avengers, who started it all, to the sprawling collective that's part of the Marvel multiverse today. It's a testament to its continuation and how the MCU is now bigger than any single character. Avengers Assemble. As superheroes from near and far join the fight, the core team joins in too, including Hulk, Iron Man, and Thor. They're all ready and waiting to defend the planet, yet they've collectively agreed that Cap is their leader, so they wait for his signal. And then he says the words that they and the audience have been waiting to hear. Avengers Assemble. Unlike the utterance by Sam that started the scene, no one in the MCU has said those 2 little words before, so it's appropriate that Cap says them now to wrap up 10 years worth of story. It's a rallying cry and a call to arms as the group plunges into battle against Thanos and his forces. It showcases the team's strength as a group. It's a shiver down the spine inducing moment and the most rousing scene in the film. Most importantly, it establishes how vast the MCU has become over the past decade. It's a testament to the world Marvel has built and how beloved its characters have become. What does it mean for Phase 4? So one of the key questions now is, where does this scene and everything it communicates leave the MCU and its fans going forward? After the events at Endgame, we lost some enormously popular characters. Yet as this important scene establishes, there are more than a few worthy successors that can stand in their place. Starting with the upcoming Spider-Man Far From Home movie, we'll see these newer characters take center stage. Tony Stark might not be with us anymore, but that doesn't mean the threats to the world have stopped. From what we know from Far From Home, Nick Fury will take over his role as Peter Parker's mentor. After all, Peter's still in high school and needs training. And who better to help him than the man who's guided so many superheroes before Spider-Man? Fury barely appears in Endgame, but Spider-Man plays a large role in the final battle. He's shown to be a competent and brave fighter, yet he's also still an eager kid who's more interested in the action of being a superhero. He's never had much training in other aspects of superhero work, like discovering a bad guy's objectives or learning their weaknesses. Perhaps that'll be a large part of Fury's agenda for him in Far From Home. If Fury's successful, Spider-Man can prove himself to be a leader of a new Avengers team. Plus, this scene establishes that both magic and aliens have become an integral part of the MCU. Doctor Strange finds and portals every hero to the battlefield. Drax, Groot, and Mantis make their triumphant return to the land of the living. Scarlet Witch is there to avenge her fallen love, Vision. These characters bring more than fighting skill to the MCU. While fighting is valuable, the mystical can augment it and make the team truly unstoppable. And fans have now learned to accept that heroes can have very different skills, and they can take many forms, even that of a raccoon. This leaves room for the MCU to expand even further, something it looks poised to do. One of Marvel's new projects is the Eternals, about a race of seriously powerful, long-lived aliens. It's rumored that the film could even introduce its own version of Hercules. Take that, Thor. From On Your Left to Avengers Assemble, this is Endgame's most important scene. It speaks to the franchise's past and its future, while also being powerfully moving and exciting. As much of the rest of Endgame clears the very high bar set for it, this is the scene that the rest of the film hangs on. It's an inspiring moment, 22 movies in the making, a moment worthy of Earth's mightiest heroes. Do you agree with our pick for the most important scene in Endgame? What did this scene mean to you? Have a say in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Keep watching because I'm not finished. Right, like I said, I'm going to be basically copying this picture here.
Avengers Endgame, the culmination of 22 movies in 11 years.
Okay, pause that down. Like I said, I'm going to I'm going to be basically copying this picture here. Sorry guys, I'm going to drink there. Yeah, there we go. Blah blah. Yeah, so I'm not sort of doing like I normally do. I'm just sort of sketching through. Hopefully you're following along with my sketch, but I am basically drawing this one here. So if you draw along with me, then you'll see where I'm putting the lines to the correlation to that. But we will be can't talk today. We will be changing where he sort of pose a little bit, just like slightly. Again, we're going to be putting a T'Challa here, of a Chitauri here, and putting the arms coming out of his back. I'm going to do maybe something like that. I don't really need to know what the arms look like because they're basically spider arms, but they're mechanical ones. He has 4 of them, doesn't he? So maybe that one could be lifted up, and then we've got the instant stabbing him down there. The instant kill. It is instant kill mode, guys. Yeah. So if you haven't seen Spider-Man Far From Home, or sorry, from Homecoming, or Infinity War, or any of the others, then what the hell have you been doing? If you're watching this, and you should get some spoilers, but I'm sorry if there is. But yeah, we're going to be watching the Far From Home trailer again because there's been a new release since the Endgame's come out. And there is a new theory of not time travel, but split realities. And lots of theories were correct, semi-correct. It could be correct. It's another hint because of the film. You get Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman, that's the wrong word. I think it's Uma Thurman. No, I even think it's the wrong woman. The Sorcerer Supreme before Doctor Strange. Can't think of her name either. All I can hear is "Wong." But yeah, they're in the thing. She goes on about time travel. If you take the stones from where I am, then you'll cause some split in realities, or you'll split in another timeline. You can kind of consider that as a timeline as another reality, and there's going to be cataclysmic problems going wrong with it. I will be watching that later on, giving my reviews on that. Again, I don't know anything about the new Homecoming film other than what we saw before Endgame and what they were allowed to see. We saw obviously the fishbowl head and other things. I will be watching that again, giving my reviews, watching with my son. So don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to carry on drawing and get some more stuff. If you like this, guys, don't forget to ding bell.
Of Marvel Cinematic Universe action has finally hit theaters. And boy, does it deliver. It's 3 hours of pure, unadulterated, and truly epic comic book action. And Marvel Studios really did pack a lot into those 3 hours. So much was packed into it, in fact, that it was quite easy to miss a lot of those Easter eggs, callbacks, nods, and minor inclusions that the MCU is known for. But never fear, we've got your back. In this video, we'll take you through 30 things you might have missed in Avengers Endgame. And be aware, this one is definitely going to contain Endgame spoilers. Let's start with something that wasn't in Avengers Endgame. That might seem strange, but it's worth pointing out, because for months in the build-up to the movie, fans were assuming that Tony Stark's
binarily augmented retroframing, or BARF, God, I gotta work on that acronym.
He would play a big part, and they assumed so with good reason, as it was seen written on a prop in a photograph from the movie's set. It was first seen in 2016's Captain America Civil War, but its absence in Endgame just proves that Marvel Studios likes to trick us. We bet you'd probably forgotten that it was strongly expected to appear in the movie. Avengers Endgame opened with the heartbreaking scene of Clint Barton's whole family turning to dust before his eyes on the Barton family's remote farm. Clint's wife is famously played by ER and Scooby-Doo star Linda Cardellini, but less is known about the child actors who portray the couple's kids. It may come as a surprise to you, therefore, to learn that Ava Russo, daughter of Endgame director Joe Russo, played Clint's daughter, Lila Barton. She was the girl Clint was training to use a bow and arrow in that opening scene. When we were first reintroduced to Thanos at the start of Avengers Endgame, he was on the same farm we saw him on at the end of Avengers Infinity War, which Nebula confirmed was a place called the Garden. With his mighty golden armor acting as a scarecrow to protect his crops, the Mad Titan was wearing a humble rag, which appeared to be a nod to his simple clothing at the end of the Infinity Gauntlet comic book arc. Although not identical to what Thanos was wearing in the comics, it was certainly similar enough to have quite obviously been influenced by it. When the surviving Avengers confronted Thanos in the Garden, before Thor cut his head off, he also cut his hand off. In case you've forgotten, this is actually a recurring theme in the MCU, with the purpose of it being a nod to Star Wars.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
The likes of Bucky Barnes, Aldrich Killian, Ulysses Klaue, and Groot have all lost appendages in the franchise. And in Avengers Endgame, Thanos continued that theme. In fact, Bruce Banner also lost the use of his arm when he reversed the snap, so that also continues the theme to a lesser extent. When Steve Rogers was running a support group for survivors of the decimation, director Joe Russo's cameo as the MCU's first openly gay man, talking about his first date in 5 years, was an easy one to spot. But there was a less obvious cameo in that same scene, in the form of Jim Starlin, who was playing another participant in the group who asked Russo's character about his date. Starlin is a comic book writer and artist, who happens to be responsible for the creation of Thanos, as well as characters like Drax the Destroyer, Gamora, and Shang-Chi. Fans have been speculating about how Paul Rudd Scott Lang would escape the quantum realm, since he got stuck in there at the end of last year's Ant-Man and the Wasp, and all was revealed in Avengers Endgame. The quantum tunnel van that took him to the quantum realm in the first place had been sent to a storage facility in San Francisco, where 5 years later, a rat activated the tunnel by crawling over some buttons. The number of the specific lockup it was stored in was 616, a reference to the designated name of the main universe in Marvel's comic books. Speaking of that storage facility in San Francisco, the security guard who let Scott Lang out of there was a well-known star in disguise, none other than Ken Jeong. His Community co-star Yvette Nicole Brown also appeared in Avengers Endgame, but her cameo was more easily identifiable. She was in the elevator with Steve Rogers and Tony Stark back in the 1970s. Rather interestingly, Jeong's character was reading a collection of J.G. Ballard's short stories called Terminal Beach. One of the stories within that volume happened to be a little number called Endgame, which is obviously no coincidence. In this year's Captain Marvel movie, and indeed at the start of Avengers Endgame, Brie Larson's Carol Danvers had shoulder-length hair. When Endgame jumps forward 5 years, and we see Danvers talking to Natasha Romanoff from space via some kind of holographic communication device, she's clearly had a haircut, which she's still rocking when she makes her grand entrance in the movie's epic final battle. If you're not familiar with the comic books, you might be interested to know that it's actually the signature look of the modern Captain Marvel from the source material. In the scene when Natasha was talking to the hologram of Carol Danvers, she was also talking to Rocket, Rhodey, Nebula, and Okoye, all of whom are reporting from their missions. Okoye notably mentioned the fact that there had been huge seismic activity on the ocean floor, but her plan of action to deal with it was to do nothing, because that wasn't their job. Could this have been a hint at the existence of Namor? We've already seen an Atlantis Easter egg in 2010's Iron Man 2. Maybe Okoye didn't feel the need to deal with ocean issues because she knew Namor would. One of the coolest moments in Avengers Endgame came when Tony Stark arrived at the Avengers compound with the news that he'd figured out time travel. He pulled up in his sports car and was greeted by Steve Rogers, who Tony proceeded to surprise by returning his iconic vibranium shield to him, which he'd taken in 2016's Captain America Civil War. As he handed the shield over, a familiar piece of music played in the background. And that was the theme music from Captain America the First Avenger, Cap's first solo outing in the MCU from back in 2011. Avengers Endgame revealed that the surviving Asgardians had set up a new home in Tonsberg, Norway called New Asgard. Tonsberg has a history in the MCU. It was the site of the Frost Giants' defeat against Odin's armies, as well as the town where the Red Skull found the Tesseract. In the comics, Asgard has floated above Oklahoma, and in an alternate Marvel Comics universe, New Asgard was the name of a version of Asgard that merged with New York City. So this wasn't a new idea. In fact, it could lead to an adaptation of the epic Siege story arc in the MCU. At the start of Avengers Infinity War, Tony Stark mentioned that Ben & Jerry's had named a flavor of ice cream after him, which Doctor Strange said was rather chalky, prompting Wong to reveal that his favorite flavor was Hulka Hulk Burning Fudge. In Avengers Endgame, in a scene showing some of the remaining Avengers sharing meals, there was a shot of Bruce Banner diving into a massive tub of the dessert, showing that, like Wong, he too is a fan of the Hulk-inspired creation. When Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, Bruce Banner, and Scott Lang traveled back to 2012's Battle of New York, we saw the aftermath of that iconic battle. Rogers entered an elevator with the Hydra strike team in it, including Brock Rumlow and Jack Rowlands. But rather than a repeat of the awesome elevator fight from 2014's Captain America the Winter Soldier, he avoided conflict by whispering "Hail Hydra" into Jasper Sitwell's ear, pretending to be a Hydra agent. This was a fun nod to the Secret Empire comic book storyline, when Rogers uttered the same phrase to reveal he'd been a Hydra agent all along. While they were in New York, the heroes altered the events that occurred there, enabling Loki to escape with the Tesseract. What you might not realize is that there could be repercussions to that in the main MCU. Tony Stark said time travel rules aren't like Back to the Future, so altering the past won't change the main timeline. Yet, when Steve Rogers went back in time, he aged within the main timeline. Essentially, that Loki TV series could still end up taking place in the main MCU timeline. The Stan Lee cameo in Avengers Endgame, which was likely his last one, unless the late great comic book icon filmed one for Spider-Man Far From Home, was particularly joyous. It occurred in the 70s time jump, with Lee playing a de-aged hippie version of himself, driving past the military base with a female friend, proclaiming to them that they should make love, not war. On the back of his car was a bumper sticker that read "Nuff said," his second most famous catchphrase after Excelsior. The reason for that 70s time jump was so Tony Stark and Steve Rogers could obtain both the Tesseract and some Pym particles in one fell swoop. But given that Rogers would have been recognized at the place called the birthplace of Captain America, he had to wear a disguise. The disguise included a shirt with the word Roscoe on it, which in the comic books was the name of the man who replaced Rogers as Captain America when the hero was going by the name Nomad. While he was at the military base in the 70s, Steve Rogers distracted the young Hank Pym with a prank phone call that made him leave his laboratory in a rush. That allowed Rogers to sneak in and steal a few vials of Pym particles, which would allow him and Tony Stark to return to the present. When the camera panned around inside the lab, just prior to Pym rushing out, we were treated to the sight of an early prototype Ant-Man helmet, which just so happened to be the classic Silver Age Ant-Man helmet from the comic books. Tony Stark got to chat with his father about fatherhood in that same military base scene. And as Howard got in his car at the end of the scene, a certain actor made a very notable cameo. It was James Darcy playing Jarvis, Howard's loyal household butler, reprising his role from the Agent Carter television series. What was particularly notable about this cameo is that in making it, Darcy became the first ever actor whose MCU debut was on the small screen to appear in an MCU movie. The epic final battle in Avengers Endgame began with Steve Rogers, Tony Stark, and Thor confronting Thanos outside the Avengers HQ. And it didn't start too well for the trio. Thanos got the upper hand on the heroes, even breaking Cap's shield in exactly the same way it was broken in Tony Stark's vision in 2015's Avengers Age of Ultron. Thanos also broke the shield in a similar fashion in the Infinity Gauntlet comic book arc, when Rogers stood against him alone. In a movie crammed with epic moments, arguably the most epic came when Captain America finally wielded Mjolnir in the MCU, Thor's original weapon. We'd seen him budget in Avengers Age of Ultron, but most of us just assumed that that was its way of saying you're the closest to being worthy out of everyone. But however, when he summoned it in Avengers Endgame, Thor said, "I knew it," which suggests he actually had been worthy all along, and simply chose not to pick it up in Age of Ultron to make Thor feel better about himself. Avengers Infinity War had that cool scene in which Black Widow, Okoye, and Scarlet Witch teamed up against Proxima Midnight, but Avengers Endgame went one better. During the epic final battle, Captain Marvel was trying to get the Infinity Gauntlet into Scott Lang's van, with Spider-Man commenting on how difficult it would be, what with Thanos' whole army in her way. Shuri, Nebula, Pepper Potts in her rescue armor, Okoye, Valkyrie, Mantis, Gamora the Wasp, and Scarlet Witch all joined forces to assist her, which is surely a foreshadowing of an all-female MCU team movie in the future. In last year's Ant-Man and the Wasp, Hope Van Dyne smirked sarcastically when Scott Lang referred to Captain America as Cap, suggesting he was great friends with the Avengers leader. There was a funny nod to that scene in Avengers Endgame, when Lang and Van Dyne were tasked with getting the quantum tunnel back online during the final battle. Captain America gave them their instructions, and Hope replied, "We're on it, Cap," which is followed by her and Scott Lang sharing a meaningful look, followed by a smile. Tony Stark's funeral was a who's who of MCU stars, with everyone from Hank Pym and Janet Van Dyne to Maria Hill and General Ross in attendance. But there was also a teenage boy who you might not have realized was an MCU character we were introduced to back in 2013's Iron Man 3. Ty Simpkins, Harley Keener. Simpkins has changed dramatically, so it was very easy to think, who the heck was that? In addition to the likes of Lila Barton and Cassie Lang, Keener's presence in Endgame certainly seems to suggest that young Avengers seeds are being planted in the MCU. Following Tony Stark's funeral at the end of Avengers Endgame, Jon Favreau's Happy Hogan, one of Tony's best friends, can be seen sitting with Tony's daughter Morgan outside the Stark family home. Happy asks Morgan if she's hungry, telling her he'll get her anything she wants. When she asks for a cheeseburger, Happy tells her how her father loved cheeseburgers, which is actually a cool nod to the first Iron Man movie from 2008. If you recall, when Tony Stark first arrived home after being held captive in Afghanistan, the first thing he asked for was an American cheeseburger. Thor's future in the MCU was hinted at when Avengers Endgame came to an end, as he joined the Guardians of the Galaxy in their ship, ready to head off into space for more cosmic adventures with Rocket, Groot, and company. The God of Thunder made a pun, calling the team the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is actually the name of a real team in Marvel's comic books. The roster is very different in the comics. Angela, Thunderstrike, Scourge, the Destroyer, and Throg make up the team. This isn't something anyone would have been able to see in Avengers Endgame, but it's a notable point that you probably missed. You know how Steve Rogers went back in time to place all the Infinity Stones back in the exact places that they were taken from at that exact moment they were taken? In the case of the Soul Stone, that would mean taking it back to the exact moment it manifested on Vormir, which was immediately after Natasha Romanoff's death. So, rather horrifyingly, Steve Rogers would have arrived on Vormir to be greeted by the corpse of one of his best friends, and his oldest foe, the Red Skull. Just before Steve Rogers went back in time, he told Bucky Barnes not to do anything stupid in his absence. Bucky's humorous reply was to ask him how he could possibly do anything stupid when Steve was taking all the stupid with him. This was actually a cute callback to an exchange that took place in 2011's Captain America: The First Avenger, just before Steve met Abraham Erskine for the first time. The only difference was that it was said in reverse, with Bucky telling Steve not to do anything stupid and Steve firing back with the same witty retort. When Steve Rogers went back in time, he was expected to return to the same spot in 5 seconds. That didn't happen, as Rogers opted to stay in the past with Peggy Carter. But he did return. An elderly Rogers who'd lived happily for more than 70 years with Peggy had made his way to a bench a few yards away, where he handed Sam Wilson his shield in another nod to the comics. He was wearing a tan jacket, which appeared to be the same one he wore when he was still the skinny kid from Brooklyn in Captain America: The First Avenger. At the end of Avengers Endgame, we finally got to see Steve Rogers dancing with Peggy Carter. It was a satisfying moment, and a fitting end for Captain America's MCU arc. As the happy couple danced, a song was playing that you might have recognized. It was It's Been a Long, Long Time, which was featured in 2014's Captain America: The Winter Soldier soundtrack. The song features lyrics that are really appropriate for the situation. And if you're interested, the version that features an Endgame seemed to be the version with Kitty Callan on vocals and the Harry James Band. MCU movies are known for their post-credit scenes, and Avengers Endgame was expected to provide us with another. However, there's another one, which really felt like Marvel Studios was trying to emphasize
Far From Home, which I think explains a lot, which I haven't seen yet, so don't spoil it for me.
It was actually the noise Tony Stark made when he forged his very first armor in 2008's Iron Man. Essentially, the sound of the Big Bang that launched the MCU. What it meant is anybody's guess. It could just be a respectful nod, or maybe it's hinting that we haven't really seen the last of Iron Man. Did you catch any of these things in Avengers Endgame? Did we miss anything that we should have included here? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Screen Rant for more great videos just like this one. Bye for now.
I wonder what's next. I don't know what to do with the arms.
Many secrets he never shared with his sons. We here at Screen Rant believe one of those secrets is a connection between Odin and the Infinity Stones. Our theory is Odin was the first being in the universe to collect all 6 Infinity Stones. But before we blow your collective minds with our theory, make sure to hit the red subscribe button on the screen right now and ring the bell to join our notification squad. This will ensure you never miss any of our videos. Now, are you ready? Let's begin.
There are relics that predate the universe itself. 9 realms are not eternal.
In this year's Avengers Infinity War, Marvel shocked the world as Thanos collected all 6 Infinity Stones and ended up wiping out half of all life in the universe with a single snap. Come on, Thor, you had one job. Why didn't you aim for the head?
You
Should have gone for the head.
Oh, that thing.
Fans might think Thanos was the first to ever use all the stones at the same time, but our theory is Odin actually completed the feat first. We believe Odin not only collected all 6 Infinity Stones, he might actually be the key to reversing the snap in Avengers 4. Before we jump right into the theory itself, let's recap some of the facts. In 2013's Thor: The Dark World, we found out Odin was well aware of the Infinity Stones, and in fact, eons ago, his father Bor was in the possession of the Reality Stone following a war with the Dark Elves.
Bury it deep. Somewhere no one will ever find it.
This means Odin didn't just know about the stones, he actually knew where one of them was hidden. To further prove that Odin came into contact with the Infinity Stones, we just need to look at the scene in Captain America: The First Avenger where the Tesseract is uncovered by Red Skull. In the opening scene, Red Skull referred to the Tesseract, aka the Space Stone, as the jewel from Odin's treasure room.
The Tesseract was the jewel of Odin's treasure room.
And if the Space Stone came from Odin's vault, couldn't it mean he was its owner? Thousands of years ago, Asgard and the Nine Realms faced never-ending attacks from the Frost Giants, fear of the return of the Dark Elves, and the everlasting threat of Surtur promising to destroy Asgard with Ragnarok. Presumably, these threats drove Odin to find and collect all 6 Infinity Stones in the hopes that with their power combined, he could protect the Nine Realms. While we know the Infinity Stones are remnants of such singularities that existed before our own universe was created, we never really found out who used the stones throughout the eons.
Stones, it seems, can only be brandished by beings of extraordinary strength.
We believe the stones were in the possession of the ancient and powerful entities that might be as old as the stones themselves, and those beings are known as the Celestials. This makes a lot of sense, considering that in the first Guardians of the Galaxy film, we saw a Celestial using the Power Stone to destroy a planet. Consequently, it's conceivable that other celestial beings possessed other stones as well. Considering that all the Celestials we've seen in the MCU, including Ego the Living Planet, were pretty evil, it's possible that they were a threat to life in the universe. Odin could have made the decision to face the ancient entities to protect the Nine Realms. We believe Odin used the Reality Stone against them, the one stone he actually knew the location of. The Reality Stone is extremely powerful, and it could serve as a great weapon against even godlike entities. We presume that Odin was able to defeat the Celestials one by one, first by using only the Reality Stone and Asgard's resources, and then as he started collecting the stones from the fallen Celestials, he had more power to fight the others. In the end, Odin stood tall, and with all 6 stones in his possession, even the Celestials couldn't stand in his way. We think that the power of the stones ended up corrupting Odin, since, as the old saying goes, ultimate power corrupts absolutely. Maybe it was the phase of corruption which caused Odin to lead a crusade, conquer other worlds, and build an Asgardian empire with the help of his powerful daughter and goddess of death, Hela. We think this was the cause that led Odin to give up the stones and hide them. He understood the power had corrupted him, possibly even corrupted Hela, and Odin was forced to banish and imprison his own daughter.
In order to take the stone, you must lose that which you love.
Fans might think there was no way Odin could have obtained the Soul Stone due to the fact that Odin would have never paid the same price that Thanos did in Infinity War. However, we think this was not the case. As we mentioned before, our theory says Odin obtained all the stones from the Celestials, including the Soul Stone. If Odin possessed all 6 stones, then the Soul Stone wasn't actually located on Vormir when Odin was collecting the stones. Therefore, Odin didn't have to sacrifice one which he loved the most in order to obtain the stone. Following Odin's decision to give up the stones, it was Odin who hid the stone on Vormir and created the failsafe in which the only way to retrieve the Soul Stone is to pay the ultimate price. And we're not just basing this on our own theory. The emotional scene where Thanos sacrifices his daughter Gamora was extremely heartbreaking. But the scene also contained a hint that might prove our theory. After Gamora is sacrificed, we see a blue beacon shooting to the sky, and it looks like some kind of portal is opening in the Vormir sky. The light that the portal emits behind Thanos is very much akin to the light created by the Bifrost Bridge on Asgard. And while Asgard was destroyed by that point in the film, we saw the power of the Bifrost being used on 2 occasions in Infinity War. First when Heimdall sent the Hulk to Earth, and then when Thor joined the battle in Wakanda. It's likely the magic of the Bifrost is still available even though Asgard no longer exists. And if the portal that was created after Gamora's sacrifice is a version of the Bifrost, then it must mean Odin was connected to the stone and the planet. Therefore, it's more than likely Odin was actually the one who hid the Soul Stone on Vormir in the first place. We have some more possible proof for Odin's connection to the Soul Stone, as well as the Space Stone. After Red Skull uncovered the Tesseract and tried to use its power, the stone backfired on the former Hydra leader and Red Skull was teleported to Vormir. It's possible that Odin was responsible for this punishment, since, after all, he seems to be fond of exiling people to other planets as punishment. He did so with both Thor and Hela. If we can agree, at least for the sake of this video, that Odin did collect all 6 stones, we can assume Odin also used some of their power to protect Asgard and the 9 realms. For example, the Reality Stone. It's likely Odin used the Reality Stone to create the containers that held the Infinity Stones, the Tesseract, the Scepter, the Orb, and the Eye of Agamotto. Beyond that, Odin could have used the stones to give powers to other Asgardians. Loki was born as a frost giant, but Odin was able to transform Loki's appearance so he would appear as an Asgardian. It wasn't just an illusion, it was a permanent alteration. And the Reality Stone definitely has the power to alter reality itself. It's even possible that some of the Reality Stone's essence fused with Loki himself, giving an explanation to how he can always create illusions and manipulate reality. And that is similar to how Scarlet Witch got her powers, since she was infused with the Mind Stone, which resulted in her powers. We also believe Heimdall's powers to observe all the souls in the universe actually come from the Soul Stone. It would make sense that the Guardian of the Bifrost would need some all-seeing powers.
From here, I can see 9 realms and 10 trillion souls.
And Odin transferred some of the Soul Stone's powers to Heimdall. The orange tint in Heimdall's eyes and his ability to see all that is happening in the 9 realms and beyond comes directly from the Soul Stone.
Okay, I'm happy with the way that's looking.
The power of the Mind Stone.
I'm going to go up and carry on with the faces now, I think.
Comes out of Odin's staff, it does resemble the energy blast that comes out of the Mind Stone that's located in Vision's forehead. The Destroyer, who appeared in the first Thor film, might have also got some of the Mind Stone's power, since the Asgardian machine used the same energy blast. We witnessed the stones used to power weapons before, like in Captain America: The First Avenger, where Hydra used weapons that were powered by the Space Stone. So, it stands to reason that Odin did the same with the Infinity Stones to power his own weapons. As far as the hiding spots that Odin chose for the stones, we might offer some ideas on that front as well. We think Odin chose strategic locations to hide the stones. The masters of the mystic arts on Earth did come into possession of the Time Stone, which was encased inside the Eye of Agamotto. Our theory is that Odin gave the stone to Agamotto himself, since the sorcerer and his order protected the Earth from supernatural evil such as Dormammu. And so, Odin probably figured that the Time Stone will be safer with someone as powerful as the Sorcerer Supreme. And that led Odin to entrust other powerful and reliable beings in the universe with the Infinity Stones. But the stones weren't the only thing Odin collected before Thanos. Going back to the first Thor film, we can see for a quick moment a version of the Infinity Gauntlet filled with all 6 Infinity Stones in Odin's vault. This little Easter egg has turned into a massive plot hole in the MCU. And while Marvel tried to dismiss it with a joke in Thor Ragnarok as Hela called the gauntlet fake, we think that there is much more to the story. Our theory is, like Thanos, Odin couldn't simply wield the stones without some type of device that could harness the powers of all 6 stones at the same time.
I made what he wanted. A device capable of harnessing the power of the stones.
That is why Odin turned to the dwarves of Midgard to forge him a gauntlet that will allow him to wield all 6 stones. This will explain how Atri knew to forge Thanos' own gauntlet in Infinity War. He used the same schematics that were used for Odin's gauntlet thousands of years ago. It's possible that the so-called fake gauntlet in Odin's vault was actually the original Infinity Gauntlet, filled with fake Infinity Stones. We don't think the gauntlet was there just for show. We believe Odin hoped to use it as a distraction. Maybe if those who seek the stones thought that Odin already collected them all, they will simply abandon their quest to collect the Infinity Stones, since they will assume that there was no way they could steal it from someone as powerful as Odin. Now, of course, most of our theory might be a stretch at best. However, we would really love to see something like this happen in Avengers 4. And the fact is that if our theory is true, Odin might just turn out to be the key for reversing the snap that wiped out half of all life in the universe. It's possible, with his knowledge of the stones, Odin knows how to use them to bring back all the dead heroes and stop Thanos once and for all. And for those that ask how it would be possible for Odin to come back after his death in Thor Ragnarok, well, as we saw in that film, Odin was still able to communicate with Thor.
Without my hammer, I can't.
I'm Thor, the god of hammers.
So even if he's dead, Odin still has some presence in the land of the living. It will be really great to see Odin revealing himself to his son again, giving Thor the information he needs to stop Thanos and reverse the snap. And hey, it's even possible Odin is somehow trapped inside the Soul Stone. Maybe some failsafe he created back when he was in possession of the stone. But we'll leave that for another day.
We haven't seen Jeremy Renner's Clint Barton since 2016's Captain America Civil War, so it's exciting that he'll be making his Marvel Cinematic Universe return in 2019's Avengers Endgame. That's a big movie for any character to be a part of, given the cosmic nature of the events that will undoubtedly unfold in it. But for a guy with no superpowers like Barton, it might seem a bit above his pay grade and beyond his ability to play a major role in. However, there's a theory suggesting he's actually going to be a big player in Avengers Endgame, and that he might even end up being the MVP in the fight against Thanos. In this video, we'll take you through some convincing evidence that shows that might be the case. Okay, let's start off with something glaringly obvious. The fact that Clint Barton was totally absent from Avengers Infinity War. All he got was a brief mention when Natasha Romanoff told Bruce Banner that he was on house arrest, spending time with his family after the whole Sokovia Accord situation that occurred in Captain America Civil War. The fact that he was notably missing from Infinity War would immediately suggest that he's being set up for something big in its sequel. That's just common sense to anyone who knows how these things work. In fact, the treatment of Jeremy Renner's character in general in the MCU has been rather poor, especially considering how prominent and iconic he is in the comic books. And that can't go on for much longer. His first appearance in 2011's Thor was a mere cameo, and that was fair enough, but it was how he was treated in 2012's The Avengers that really ticked fans off. Barton spent most of the movie under the influence of Loki's mind control, which rendered him relatively useless for the most part, as far as the plight of the titular heroes was concerned. Granted, in 2015's Avengers Age of Ultron and the aforementioned Captain America Civil War, his role was somewhat more prominent, and he did have some moments worth mentioning, such as when he incapacitated Wanda Maximoff with a taser arrow, and when he distracted Tony Stark so that Maximoff could drop a load of cars on him. But if the truth be told, he was a long, long way from being the key player in either story. It really is about time his importance to the good fight of the MCU was made more clear, and that definitely looks like being the case in the coming months, if rumors, theories, and visible evidence are to be believed. It's been stated by Marvel Studios representatives on more than one occasion that Barton's time will come to shine in the MCU. And having played nothing more than a bit part in the franchise so far, it's really only fair if that's the case. And if Avengers Endgame is his time to shine, all will be forgiven for the studio not utilizing him to his full potential to date in the MCU. Moreover, the very fact that the trailer for Avengers Endgame revealed Barton's return would suggest he's going to be important in the movie. Why bother showing him otherwise? Scott Lang was the other major absentee in Infinity War, and the reveal of his return in the Endgame trailer was the big zinger. So it's probably fair to say both of those characters will be important in the fourth Avengers offering, given their similar circumstances. It's also evident Barton will be undergoing a change of persona in Avengers Endgame. Having previously used the Hawkeye moniker in the MCU since his first appearance in Thor, and having used a bow and arrows as his weapons of choice so far, he'll now be going by the name Ronin and wielding a sword of some kind. In the comic books, Ronin is a name used by a number of superheroes, including Barton, Maya Lopez, who is otherwise known as Echo, Alexei Shostakov, who is otherwise known as Red Guardian, and Eric Brooks, who is otherwise known as Blade. Barton took on the same name when he was resurrected after the House of M story arc. So, while the circumstances are certainly different in the MCU, they are similarly following on from a tragic event that took place on a larger scale. The name Ronin refers to the Japanese term for a masterless samurai, or a lone warrior, which was used during the feudal period of Japan between 1185 and 1868. It's a huge change, which very much makes Barton a focal point in Avengers Endgame. People will be extremely eager to see just how much he's transformed as a character, and it would be extremely underwhelming if Marvel Studios went to the trouble of completely changing him only for him to play a small part in the movie in which the change takes place. Something that'll make Barton particularly dangerous and therefore a threat to any potential opponent he comes up against, including Thanos, is the reason he's undergone such a drastic change in persona. It's believed he's taken on the Ronin moniker as a result of the deaths of his wife and kids, which will have occurred when the Mad Titan snapped his fingers and erased half of all life in the universe in Avengers Infinity War. The Endgame trailer had Steve Rogers saying, "We lost. All of us. We lost friends, we lost family, we lost a part of ourselves." His quote seems to fit with the idea that those closest to Barton have fallen victim to the prune-chinned villain's devastating cosmic call. Barton will be angry, beyond angry in fact, and will be out for blood. Thanos' blood, should he get the opportunity, and that undoubtedly means he'll be willing to do whatever it takes to either get his revenge on the purple-skinned despot or help to undo the effects of the decimation. He has absolutely nothing and nobody to lose. Literally, they're all gone. Everything he did as an Avenger and as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. was for his family. Without them, his life is barely worth living, so taking whatever risks are necessary to make things better could certainly be on the cards for the character. There's also reason to believe Barton gets recruited quite late in Avengers Endgame, as a sort of trump card. In the scene in which he appears in the trailer, his longtime friend and fellow Avenger Natasha Romanoff appears to have found him in Japan. And given her hair appears to be darker and longer than it was in other clips, there's a theory that a lot of time has passed since the fight back against Thanos officially got underway. If indeed that's the case, Barton's return could be a pivotal moment in the movie, and indeed in the MCU's history, and one that sways the tide in the surviving heroes' favor, and provides them all with a much-needed morale boost in the fight back against the Mad Titan. It might just be the pickup and incentive they need to go all out and ultimately win the war. Another reason for this theory is due to something that occurred in Avengers Age of Ultron. Marvel Studios is known for foreshadowing future events in their movies, or at least subtly hinting towards them. And something Barton said during the Battle of Sokovia has led some people to believe he could be very important going forward in the MCU. He played down his own worth, saying, "This city is flying. We're fighting an army of robots and I have a bow and arrow." None of this makes sense, which suggested he knew his abilities were comparatively less useful than the likes of Thor, the Hulk, and Scarlet Witch, which could in turn be seen as a sort of reverse psychology form of foreshadowing, and end up with him being the most useful character when it matters most, in a battle for the fate of the entire universe. Speaking of his abilities, another reason for this theory is due to the fact they're particularly suited to taking opponents by surprise. Wouldn't it be cool if we were reintroduced to Clint Barton in this new Ronin guise, but in order to save the day, he went back to his roots, took out his trusty bow and arrow, and defeated Thanos using his classic weapons? Maybe it could be used to knock the Infinity Gauntlet off of Thanos' hand, or to knock the Infinity Stones out of the gauntlet, or simply to cause an explosion with a trick arrow that distracts the Mad Titan long enough for another MCU hero to finish him off. There is, however, a more indirect way in which Barton could be extremely important in Avengers Endgame. Everyone knows Brie Larson's Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, will be appearing in the movie, following her first MCU appearance in her solo movie a few months earlier. But Nick Fury, who sent her an SOS message in the post-credits scene of Avengers Infinity War, was probably her only remaining connection to the heroes who will be going up against Thanos in the 2019 movie. Apart from Barton, that is. Should Larson head to Earth in order to assist in the fight back against the Mad Titan, she might need some convincing to do so. And that convincing could come
thank you very much, buddy. I was
other
just
than
literally
face.
checking on he was
Danvers
commenting.
was obviously associated
Cool, man.
with
Thank you very
S.H.I.E.L.D.
much.
before she left Earth to fight
There you go.
alongside the Kree. And given that Barton was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent before he became an Avenger, the two might have worked together in the 90s. Should Barton
Not quite
convince
finished yet,
Danvers
but,
the situation is
we're getting
grave
there.
and she's needed to help undo it, that would make his part in Avengers Endgame just as important as if he was to land the killing blow on Thanos, or head back in time to prevent the Mad Titan from collecting the Infinity Stones himself. Of course, the manner in which Barton is important in Avengers Endgame could also be heartbreaking. The tone was definitely set in Infinity War after all. If defeating Thanos and undoing what he did in Infinity War requires a sacrifice, perhaps, for example, if the MCU's heroes need to sacrifice something that they love to utilize the abilities of the Soul Stone, Barton might put himself forward to be that sacrifice. We've already touched heavily upon the fact he's lost his wife and kids. He might feel he has nothing left to live for in the current timeline, and if everything goes well, he'd find himself alive again in the past, with his wife and children also alive, with no memory of ever having sacrificed himself to make it happen. Ah, man, this all sounds very, very complicated, doesn't it? All things considered, this would be a great way for Clint Barton, and indeed Jeremy Renner, to re-emerge in the MCU, following his absence in Avengers Infinity War. But we'd definitely prefer it if he didn't die permanently as a result of it. Barton deserves a happy ending with his family, although most fans would like to see him given his own movie before that as well, neither of which could happen if he was killed off saving the universe in Avengers Endgame. How cool would it be to see a Hawkeye and Black Widow movie depicting what happened in Budapest with Natasha Romanoff, for example? Fans have been wanting to see that depicted on screen since it was briefly referenced back in the first Avengers movie. Of course, we also have to be prepared for the very real possibility that Barton's role might be a lot smaller than we're all imagining right now. If that happens, particularly if he's killed off early in Avengers Endgame, everyone at Marvel Studios will wish they had been erased from existence in the decimation. The inevitable fan backlash begins. Heck, given what we know Marvel Studios is capable of, and we're talking about how we know they like to deceive fans, such as the moment in the Avengers Infinity War trailer showed the Hulk fighting in the Battle of Wakanda, Barton might not even be in Endgame at all, in spite of what the trailer shows. Just imagine that for a second. All things considered, we can't wait to see what Avengers Endgame, and indeed the future of the MCU in general, has in store for Jeremy Renner's Clint Barton. He's a great character, played by a fantastic actor who we'd love to see more of in the franchise. Oh god, he's so going to die, isn't he? It was fun while it lasted, Clint. Hope you enjoy shooting those arrows in that great big target range in the sky. What's up, superhero fans? The as-yet untitled fourth Avengers movie, which we'll refer to as Avengers 4 for now, will be released next year, and there's no doubt it'll result in the deaths of some prominent MCU heroes. Some of the more likely candidates include the original MCU Avengers, like Iron Man, Captain America, and indeed Thor.
Oh wow, I didn't realize we were listening to something so old. Oh, this is a last year's stuff. Oh, it sounded a bit weird.
First introduced to in last year's Thor Ragnarok movie. By Odin's beard, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's the best way of keeping up to date with all of Screen Rant's great new videos. And you shall feel the wrath of the mighty Thor if you don't. In 2017, the third Thor movie, the fantastic and hilarious cosmic adventure Thor Ragnarok, culminated in the catastrophic event happening before our very eyes. To clarify, Ragnarok in Norse mythology is a cyclical event that results in both the destruction of Asgard and the deaths of several key figures in the Norse pantheon, including but not limited to Odin, Frigga, Loki, Heimdall, and of course, Thor. Just like in the mythological version of the event, it was Surtur who destroyed Asgard in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, although it was Thor who instigated that happening in the MCU's case, in order to ensure his evil half-sister Hela was killed, rather than the gigantic fire demon doing it entirely of his own accord. Of course, Odin and Freya were already dead by the time Surtur destroyed the MCU version of Asgard, while Loki and Heimdall died in this year's Avengers Infinity War at the hands of the Mad Titan Thanos. But Thor is still alive, so could it be that Thor's death is required to complete the real Ragnarok in the MCU? That's what this theory suggests, and it suggests it might happen in next year's fourth Avengers movie. A very noteworthy.
Give me a second, guys. I'm going to find something else a bit up more up to date.
Odin and Thor, and it was that Asgard is not a place, but a people. Therefore, given that Ragnarok is a prophesied event in the classic Norse mythology and in the MCU, the fact that Thor isn't dead yet would suggest the prophecy hasn't actually been completed in our favorite live-action superhero.
Okay, I'm going to stop that there. And so what I've been getting up to. Just swap over my camera again. That was old theories, and did you think the theories came true? Who knows? If you haven't watched it yet, but if you have, you'll know exactly what this scene is that I'm trying to recreate. Can anybody who is watching, can you let me know who in the suit, in Spider-Man's suit, in the newer version of him, what's the name he gives to the voice? What is the AI's name? I can't remember what it is. I think it's Sarah, but I don't think it. But I think I'm wrong. I'm going to pretty much. I've got to the part now where I've finished sketching this down now. If you have enjoyed this, or if you haven't seen the whole way through, don't forget to ding the bell for tomorrow's video, or I'll be colouring this in. I might ink it as well this afternoon, this evening, because I didn't do a video yesterday. But I may just do that in a video, inking. On off stream. What do you think, guys? Let me know. Let me in the comment section. Obviously, I won't ink without you saying to me, ink. You want to see this inking? You want to see how this actually gets inked compared to what I would normally draw. This is a lot more shaded. It doesn't need so much shading as such, but it will need a lot more dark colours. So that where the ink will come in handy. What I might do is, what I normally do is go over the whole, instead of inking this video, what I might do is go over the whole thing with a pencil and then ink the very, very last stage. What do you think of that, guys? What do you think of this picture? You think it's all right? I know that somebody's already had a look at it and you think it's okay, and you can think, great job. Thank you very much for saying that there, buddy. That does mean a lot to me, because I was starting to think it was looking a bit crappy, especially with the two top Spider-Man up there and stuff like that. But thank you very much. I can't believe the past couple of days, past week has been Menturius. Menturius? That's the wrong word. Let's go with Menturius. Great thing of 10 years of film. I don't know if you guys have been watching, but Spider-Man is going to be he's going to be, to be completely honest with you guys, you know how Iron Man was like, I'm Iron Man, yeah, I'm Iron Man, a very, very first film. I think this is going to be the Spider-Man's moment in the MCU, where he's going to go, well, I'm Spider-Man. And then, because he was the mentor of Iron Man, you see what I mean, guys? Oh, sorry, he's mentored by Spider-Man, Iron Man. So it's making me think, there's something there. There's got to be, because, well, just the way it's worked out. And I know that there's been a Far From Home trailer come out again, which has explained multiverse. I haven't seen that. I will be watching that one probably. Probably this evening and making a review of that one with my son, depending if he wants to. If not, I'll make one on my own, and we'll get on and do. But for now, I think I'll bring this video to an end because we've reached an hour. I very much enjoyed drawing this for you. Hopefully you have liked me doing it. Don't forget to leave a like and hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. I will be continuing on and finishing this picture off throughout the week. So don't forget to tune in every day where I'll be live. I will get up to the point where I'll not be able to live anymore because I'll go digitize, and digitize this one will be real excellent. I'm going to really enjoy digitizing this one. So don't forget, keep tuning in, guys. Ding the bell for notifications. Otherwise, hit the links that will appear, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Tonight I will be releasing some things over on Instagram and late night tweaks. I'm not sure what a tutorial looks like. So I have to find a picture, and that's what's going to be there, guys. So tune in for tomorrow for how the tutorial looks. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Bye for now.